Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 5th season, we are looking at Joe Johnston's 2011 film, Captain America, The First Avenger. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Reel Film Podcast.
I'm Pete Wright, and Andy, I've never seen your energy so angry before.
Today we are talking about Minute 20, which begins with dancing cosmic energy and ends with Queen Victoria and her accent. Joining us, sadly, for the last time this season, it's Will Johnson and Don Shanahan from the Cinephile Hissy Fit Podcast. Hello again,
Thanks
gents.
for having us.
We are thrilled to have you for this energy-filled minute, starting off with this dancing blue energy in the... What the heck is going on with this crazy cube?
Not sure at all, you know. Is it the Throes of Norse passion? Is that what we're hearing?
I like that. I like
Norse,
that. No prize for you.
Another shirt reveals itself.
Oh, you're recording the in-betweens where these could be your bonus content. Like, you should hear what we said before the mics came live.
Yeah, let's just say there are places we've gone that we have never gone before and likely will never will again.
We have a raw recording of all this, so if you really want it.
Yeah.
So.
Just reach out, send us some money, and you just might find the file in your email inbox. All right, so this is I don't know what the heck this thing is doing, but I love the idea. It's Throes of Norse passion locked into the Tesseract, and it's powering this little. It seems to have all landed in this little kind of blue box that they have on the desk, and it's clearly thrilling Arnim and Schmidt as they look at this thing. And I love that we actually get Schmidt calling him out by name, Arnim. I must congratulate you, Arnim. What a name, Arnim. It's not a name I've heard before, but I do love that it is a name. Are any of you familiar with the name Arnim?
Who's the guy from Deep Impact? Armin Mueller-Stahl? Is that the only other Armin I know in my life?
Isn't that Armin?
That's Armin.
This is
like,
M.
Like Armin Shimmerman from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Armin.
So wait, this one's Arnim.
Arnim.
Yeah.
N-I-M.
It sounds like 73rd Street, 73rd Avenue. We're just typo in the script that never went away. You know.
It's actually interesting that it's a first name, that it's a given name.
Right.
It is normally a German surname, often preceded by the nobility particle von.
Oh.
So you are of von Arnim, like Arnulf von Arnim, 1947.
Okay.
German classical pianist and teacher.
Isn't that funny?
Again.
Especially that he's because I believe he's from Switzerland too. He's not even.
But yeah,
German.
he makes a point of that later when I think it's Tommy Lee Jones, right? Says something about being German. He's like,
scene, right?
No, it was in Winter Soldier when she says, "What is this, some kind of German thing?" And he's like, "I'm actually Swiss," or something like that. So
right.
Well, that explains it. The Swiss didn't know that it was a last name.
His parents, it's a beautiful name. Let's use it for our son.
Yeah.
And now he's gone through that his whole life. No, that's my first name. You fool.
That's why he's a mad scientist. He's like, I'll get to my name right.
Right. Yeah. Embroider that in a bib while you're at it. Babies are adorable. Oh, what's his name? Arnim. Oh.
That's my favorite.
The last name doesn't help. Zola. It's all. Yeah. The whole thing screams this person was born to be a mad scientist. I mean, that's exactly.
Do we have any Frasier fans out there? Frasier the show fans?
Yes.
Okay, so one of my favorite jokes.
Jump right up.
One of my favorite jokes from Marty the father was Niles was talking about Maris, who we never see and only hear crazy stories about. And he says something like, "Oh, Maris is taking her German lessons." And he's like, "Just when I thought she couldn't get any cuddlier." German accent, because, German is such a it's such a soft, beautiful language, isn't it? I mean, it's just,
oh boy. Well, I've been this week. I've been hitting the accents hard, and I love what Weaving does to it because we know he's Australian, and he finds a way to just kind of hit highs, hit lows, and then growl it when he needs to at the end of it. Like he finishes those sentences with just such zest, and it's masterful work from him.
And it's not caricature.
No, not at all.
It's natural.
Agreed?
Are you two fans of Hugo Weaving?
I mean, I don't have a poster on my wall and a tattoo on my leg, but yeah,
Yeah, well,
this is in contrast to
The Ant-Man
now? I don't know. Is
Oh,
that the other tattoo? No.
Well, I actually have a question about tattoos too, because I got to admit, like, and I'm a big collector of stuff, and I like tattoos of Marvel stuff. But like, you can't get a Hydra thing, right? Like that wouldn't that be crossing a line? Like
Homeland Security is going to be like, wait a second.
They're going to be like, well, wait a minute, isn't that Nazi adjacent? And I've already got a bald head, so like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like.
I guess that depends. Where
I would call that
like
Nazi
on your
adjacent.
Neck?
Oh, forehead.
Is he Puerto Rican?
Give it a little smiley face, maybe.
Yeah,
that might help.
True.
You know,
A smiling Hydra.
A smiling Hydra.
Then you could put it on your B-52 also, right?
Another
smiling Hydra.
I will admit, it's a cool design, and I've seen stuff at like my local collector's marketplace where I buy toys and statues and stuff, and there'll be like mugs of it or like a poster of it or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool, but if I fly that around,
like drink coffee, no problem.
Yeah, but I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
wear it in bedroom time. Maybe not so much. You know,
you're putting your
because work girls gonna be like, oh,
hail Hydra.
Come here, big boy.
It's all how you say it.
But you gotta
in your
remember,
accent it is. Yeah,
you cut one head off. I mean, you get to a point where it's like, I don't know if we want to go down this road.
We
anymore.
only have one to cut off. Okay,
bedroom time.
Okay, Lorena, knock it off.
Lorena, oh my God!
We go to dark places on this show. This is what happens.
This is what happens when we get on the show.
But I did read that Weaving's inspirations were Werner Herzog, and then Austrian actor Klaus Maria Brandauer from out of Africa. So he went to good places to blend a little something together.
And I'm going to compare him to another Marvel villain here in terms of professionalism. There's Hugo Weaving and there's Christopher Eccleston, who's in Thor: Dark World. Mm-hmm. Both actors are on record of saying they hated being in these movies. But the difference is that Hugo Weaving, consummate actor, you would never tell. Whereas Christopher Eccleston, you can tell once he was in the makeup, he was just like, I'm a dark elf, I guess. Whatever.
Well, do you blame that on him, or do you blame it on the fact that they messed that character up? I mean, Malekith is a much different character in the comics, and they just kind of made him this mopey bore of a character in the film.
But I think a good actor could squeeze material in great ways. If you're a good enough actor, you can spin some gold onto some straw.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You certainly can, for sure. And I think it is a commitment thing too. We've seen plenty of movies where actors are not committed to the role, and you can tell. And this one, you would have no idea that Hugo Weaving is miserable the whole time. He's selling this movie like he's one of the best parts of this movie altogether. And I would say that he is such a how many people I know Don did, but did Andy and Pete, did you see the new Matrix that came out, Matrix Resurrection?
Oh yeah.
In terms of like my own, like when I watch a film, especially like let's talk about Marvel, like I make the transition from Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle in my head, the suspension of disbelief. I understand they're the same character. But maybe not as essential of a character as Hugo Weaving was in The Matrix, to the point where they have someone play his character, and instead of just like killing him off screen like Lawrence Fishburne so they don't have to use him, like the void left without his presence, someone else playing that character. That's how instrumental he is as an actor in his
irreplaceable.
Yeah, because that actually, as much as I tried in Matrix Resurrections to make that suspension of disbelief where I'm like, okay, it's Hugo Weaving's character, it's Agent Smith, it's just a different face or whatever, I couldn't get past it. It totally ruined that part of the movie for me because I just wanted Hugo Weaving. And what did the Matrix people do to piss Hugo Weaving off? Because Hugo Weaving hated being in this movie, but he still let them use his face in Winter Soldier for a couple scenes. So it's like, why couldn't they just use his face in whatever? It's this thing. But
that's Warner.
It's a tale. It's a tale to his professionalism, his ability to. I mean, just the fact that he said he researched the character. Like, if you don't even like being in a movie, like, why bother? But he's just like, and this is another reason why I loved Bale in the new Thor movie, because he was like, oh, I was doing Nosferatu and Aphex Twin videos, and like they actually put something into this, and you can feel that. Just like you can feel an actor not giving you something. Every moment with Hugo Weaving in this movie, you feel,
right on.
What's going on.
Does it bother you that it's not him in Endgame, or are you okay with the way that played out, the Red Skull character?
You can hide recasting in a moment like that.
Yeah, that one's because it's makeup, and they got a voice mimic artist, because it's also
that's a good word for you. Yeah,
because also the same thing happened in Doctor Strange 2. Instead of having James Spader do the Ultron voice, they had a mimic artist.
Yeah.
Am I disappointed? Yes, because those scenes in those two movies are probably the most, I'm not going to say out there, but they rely the most on you suspending disbelief, because it's more like an idea of how you get that Infinity Stone. It's more of a philosophical kind of thing than like getting it from, a Tesseract or a thing. Yeah. So to have someone of his gravitas kind of explain it, I think it would have hit, like, I do love like the moments with Red Skull in those movies where he's like, Scarlet Witch, son of Ivan, or not Scarlet Witch, sorry, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, son of Ivan. And she's like, I don't even know who my dad was, like those were good, but I bet with the gravitas of that, with his performance, it would have been so much more powerful, stuff like that. So that's my name.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's, I mean, we've at this point, we're only 5 films in. We haven't had that many replacements at this point. But it certainly will be something that's worth talking about as we go. I love Hugo Weaving. I love what he is doing with this character. I think that he's just fantastic as Red Skull. And I love the way that they kind of did that whole thing with, right now he's got this mask on, and it's very fun. And we haven't talked about that, but there are a couple moments throughout these minutes where you actually see him like kind of grabbing at his jaw, just kind of, it's almost like he's constantly, there are these very subtle things that he's latched onto as an actor to say, I am going to be adjusting my mask. And they're so subtle. It's great though.
I saw a good comp in another movie where, I'm going to be the Will Johnson at this moment here. Weird movie parallels. So Jack Nicholson, something's got to give, right? So there's this scene where he shares a bed with Diane Keaton. They're not making love yet, but he's like, he was told, it was in the commentary where he's like, moving pictures move. He's like, I know I'm supposed to stand and hit this mark here and enter the room and think about where I'm supposed to go, but I just keep moving. And he's like, when he gets into bed and he gets under the covers, he's like, there's a very plain moment where he says, oh, just get in bed, get in the covers. He's like, but he has this character like leave one leg out for whatever reason of like, nut ventilation, who knows what. But Nicholson explains it like he's like moving pictures move. He's like, if you just can't be still. You got to show a little something extra. So Weaving does that with, just like you said, just checking some masks, readjusting the makeup. Even just a little jaw rotation is so subtle and so perfect.
It's business. It's the business, right? Actors are always looking for what's the business that I'm doing during the scene.
Even in the opening scene in Tonsberg or whatever, like there's a couple of shots from the side where you can see the separation, like where his mask is and where his skull is, and it's like once you notice that, it's like that appreciation to detail, not only from the actor but from the production.
Yeah,
they're committed to like showing this character as is. It's pretty cool. I think it's a testament to the creative powers that a lot of people disparage because of the type of film it is.
Yeah, because I think other villains in other places overact and be like, "Hey, look! Oh my gosh, what's so nagging me so much?" They would just oversell it every chance they get, or overdo an accent, or But Weaving just finds a through line middle and nails it.
Yeah, he's great here. And this is, we have this energy here, and now this is this great moment between the two of them where they're seeing all of this work that they've been doing since they got the Tesseract, all the stuff that they've been building to getting to a place where they're going to be able to do some stuff. And I think it's pretty interesting, and this is where you have that moment. We were asking, Pete, you asked the question a minute or two ago about like, is Zola the sort of doctor that is in it for like the reasons, like, is he going to be the Mad Doctor or could he have been the Erskine? And right here, I think this is clearly what his motivations are. This energy we've just collected, it could power my designs, all my designs. This will change the war. It's like his eyes have just grown so big because of what he's able to do now. I think that if there was a sign of good with him, I think it's gone out the door because now he sees what he's able to do. And of course, we have Schmidt, who has much bigger visions about this actually changing the world. What do you think of the kind of this exchange here and kind of like the end of the scene that we have?
Well, I wanted to expand on what you just said, though, because we often talk about Kurosawa, right? And we talk about the Rashomon effect. How that's like a trope that a lot of movies use. To me, one of the most powerful tropes that, I don't know if he created it, but he fostered it, as Kurosawa did, is if anyone sees Stray Dog. Has anyone seen Stray Dog by Kurosawa?
Fantastic, yeah.
That's one of probably my favorite Kurosawa film, because what I like about it is you have two characters that are on the same path, and circumstance happens to them, and one reacts one way and goes one direction, one reacts the other way. And you can see the parallels of, like, if this person made this decision, he would go that way. If this person made that decision, he would go that way. And I think that's I see that a lot, especially in Marvel films. Like most recently with the new Thor one, it's the same thing between all the lost Thor has and all the lost Gore has, where directions they go in. And this is the same thing. It's like, could he have been Erskine? Could Zola have been Erskine? Yes, but circumstances pushed him a different way. And DC also did that in a comic that I love called Red Sun, which is what if Superman landed in Soviet Russia instead of America? Like, what paths would they take? And so, yeah, I actually love that trope. I like to, it feeds my imagination. It lets me think of, like, where would Zola be if he reacted a little bit differently to his position? And so I do see those parallels between those two characters, and paths not less traveled, and stuff like that. So I just wanted to expand on that. I always, anytime I can mention Stray Dog, I like to make sure I can do that.
I'm doing Nicholson and a Nancy Meyers romantic comedy. He's bringing in Kurosawa and Stray Dog. Come on. Volleyball in the face.
That's right.
What was your question again, Andy? Sorry.
No, it was just kind of about, like, what were your thoughts about how this the mental place that these two are at this point? We've got clearly the mad scientist Zola at this point really kind of, he's fully committed. Oh, if we thought there was any doubt in his mind, which I don't think we did, but like, this is really like, his eyes are now big. He's the kid in the candy store. This can power my designs. And now this is really that moment where you have Schmidt, who's got his big plans, and everything is kind of being able to get set into motion from this point forward. So,
well, and do you think that, obviously he has intentions, because we find out a teeny bit in this movie, and then it's expanded, of course, in The Winter Soldier, that he's been doing experiments on prisoners, including Bucky. So I'm wondering, like, does this moment lead him to be like, oh, I can try all kinds of different things, and this is, the Tesseract gives me that power to do that? Or do you think maybe he's always been... that makes me rethink it, because I didn't think about it until right now, when you find out that he was working on Bucky. And I'm kind of thinking, like, well, that seems pretty hardcore for someone who's maybe on the fence about this, and then is suddenly awakening to the power of the Tesseract. So I'm wondering if, like, that happens later because of this, or if he's always had that. I don't know.
That whole chicken or the egg thing. What drives you down this path?
I mean, if you play the history, if you take that Sundries book and you tumble the pages forward, and, like, Zola gets this far in this movie, lose the war. Cold War is crap for a guy like that. Being part of the villain, probably has to hide out, probably has to do a lot of crazy things to stay on edge or advance the science, but with a loser's attitude. And then you bring all that Cold War stuff up to now. What would he still do? And, being as bent as he was, being a loser, at the end of this movie in the war. I don't know. That's a good question.
Because he was taken by the U.S. to continue his experiments, obviously. Yeah. Because,
but having to work for your villain, work for your enemy.
Work for your.
I wonder if that would sour him.
It's Pete. Do you have any thoughts on any of this?
I'm listening to you talk, I can't you have said a couple of times, like, I think it's settled. He is this guy, but I just really believe he's an opportunist. And I think if somebody like Coulson and Nick Fury had come to him and said, look, we have lots of opportunity and we have needs, and your motivation is not really a question for us. It's, can you fill this hole in our operation? And if he gets to play with his toys in this crazy dark energy, I have a feeling he would take it. Like, I think he is sort of chaotic neutral, right? Like, he's in it for himself first and happens to find affinity with the bad guys first for circumstances. And so that's it's a thing that makes him more interesting to me, right? It's a thing that makes him a more compelling character. And honestly, like when he's shoved into a computer, it's a little sad. Like I feel like there is more room for someone like Toby Jones to play this character morally neutral in a way that's super interesting and never got the chance. So
yeah, but I also think like, could you imagine a scientist of his caliber being like, I'm going to put my consciousness, I can't do the accent, you have to do it, but I'm going to put my consciousness into a freaking computer. Like how cool would that be? Like for someone like him to just be like zipping through the, and what did What If do with him? What if?
Good question.
Did they put him in an Ultron? I can't remember what they did with him. They did something with him.
I don't remember.
Gosh, I can't remember now. Yeah.
He ended up taking over something and was like, I am now Ultron or whatever. It's pretty.
Because you can see how he would be driven toward one way or the other with a shove. And that's what he gets is the shove, right?
And even in this scene, not just a shove, but a little bit of massaged shoulders. Like there's wonderful moment of shared success that the two actors convey where it's not, yay! But it's like, hold on. Look at this. It's the gravity of the moment is not lost on either one of them, the chaotic neutral one and the chaotic evil one.
Right, but those are different celebrations. That's my contention. In each of their heads, they're celebrating a different thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
That is, I think, what makes him.
But the shove is there. You're right.
The shove is there.
He's such an interesting character. We're kind of wrapping up this whole minute here, though. Mm-hmm. We kind of have this transition. They're very excited. Things are going to happen. We'll talk about them a lot more. We're switching gears, though. We're moving to Camp Lehigh. This is the practice field, and we're going to take a little jump. Before we do, any last thoughts about anything going on with Zola and Schmidt and their experiment from anyone?
Yes, my last thought is, are there any women in this movie?
Bechdel effect? Are we having that measure?
Maybe we should throw... Do you think we need a woman?
This movie.
Yeah, we should throw a woman in here. Well, let's see. We're going to go to the Army. We're going to Camp Lehigh practice field. And what's great about this transition that we have here is, and this is something that I do find is Joe Johnston does this really well. He sets up these shots, especially in this film, that play on what we have with our little Steve Rogers here. We've got we're trucking from right to left across just a whole row of soldiers who are all pretty tall, and then there's little Steve in the mix. And we just kind of pass by. We don't even pay it. It's not even a focus. We're just really kind of moving past a row of soldiers. And then we're going to come to somebody. But before we do, any thoughts on the way that we come to this moment here?
No, I mean, that's just thinking, like I said, when I'm in the story, I'm not thinking about the technical part because it's seamless, but just, now looking at it, maximizing this minute. Yeah. I'm just thinking man, the 4 times they had to do that, it's just for such a thankless shot. Like you said, it's a nice touch, not even really necessary, really. We already know, what his position is. So it's kind of cool that they spent that time to make something like that. It's a little artistic touch, which I think, and it takes a lot of work because it would be 4 passes with the camera, 2 different actors. So it's pretty neat.
No, for me, it's seeing it the first time, complete absorption. You don't even. It's movie magic. You're into it, and it's well sold by this point in the movie. Now that I know how they made it, oh my gosh, I pour over oh my gosh, how the Marvel's a silly word, especially what we're talking about, but the artistic prowess of what they put together to do it always just astounds me. It's awesome.
They've always, in general, seemed to give the Captain America films a little extra because I think all 3 have been nominated for Oscars for visual effects, I think.
That's a good question.
Whereas, I think the only other ones are Iron Man 2 and Doctor Strange. But consistently, whoever the Captain America movies seem to get a little extra attention in that visual category.
Partially, I wonder if it's because the Captain America movies are less flamboyant. Right, the things they do are here's visual effects that are going to humanize the frame for us right now, and not just
whereas Guardians of the Galaxy, let's have a floating head in space that's a base for everything. Right, it's just all over the top.
Captain America he's a universal character in that he can be everywhere, but his movies are almost more street level than cosmic. They're big stakes and stuff. But I mean, Winter Soldier, there's a bunch of action set pieces, but there's really only one ginormous third act set piece, with 3 helicarriers or whatever. It's mostly isolated, singular action. Civil War actually gets its huge set piece in the middle, with the airport battle. And so it's kind of it is a little bit more down to earth, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that you call it street level. You could almost just as easily see the weary Steve Rogers coming home from the war and landing in Hell's Kitchen, right? Like that feels like he and Matt Murdock would have been buds across decades.
Sure. What, you think? Well, okay. No, I was just going to say, I don't want to open that. I don't want to open that whole thing up.
I regret even saying the word.
No. It wasn't a bad thing. I saw
your face, and I was like, no, that was going to be a fight.
It's not a bad thing. I just don't think.
I'll bring back in Saoirse Ronan. I'm sorry, guys. It's wait 4 years. She's yours.
We've been waiting.
I just don't think Cap would approve of Daredevil's vigilanteism.
I agree.
That's
truth.
But he wasn't saying he was friends with Daredevil. He was saying he's friends with Matt Murdock.
Yeah,
that's true.
Thus conflict is born.
That's right. The world of comics. All right. So we got to talk about what happens here at the end of this shot, because the camera, as we continue down the row, we pan over to the left, revealing, of course, the voice that we've been hearing. And it is, of course, the lovely Haley Atwell. Here we are finally getting to meet Agent Carter, introduced in the franchise. Before we talk about her, we're going to do our little IMDb game.
Ooh,
Haley Atwell.
Yikes.
Okay.
Ooh,
I know, this might be a tricky one. I'm curious to see where you all go with this one.
Okay. The 4 things she's this period. No doubt.
Yeah.
I think,
and Winter Soldier, right? Like,
she's not in it enough, is she? I'd say this in Endgame. I just think
because she is so inextricably associated with Captain America.
I'll say this in Endgame, and I'll throw in Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Yeah, I'll go
the Kenneth Branagh, was she?
Yeah.
Even though she's in Endgame as much as she is in Winter Soldier, it's more of a popular movie, I guess.
Yeah. So, my 4th would be Agent Carter.
The show?
Well, there's no TV. There's no TV. It's all films.
Okay, so
it's movie from her.
I would have gone with
that. Oh man,
what was? Is it possible there could be a movie that's not out yet?
No.
Curious.
Oh, she's in Mission Impossible, right? She's in.
That would have been the one we.
That's what I'm saying. I would have put that one up there because I know that IMDb puts stuff that's in post production and all that crap. And Letterboxd is the same thing.
They list them, but those never end up in the known for. Of the actors, yeah.
All right, so I'll go this one. Endgame.
Okay, just because you're wearing the shirt, do you think she's in Multiverse of Madness?
That could be the one
on there.
We
weren't supposed to bring that movie up, remember?
Because,
I was told there would be no Multiverse of Madness.
That's a good 4th.
Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna call a shot. I'm gonna say we're totally screwed. I think we may have gotten 1. That's my pick.
You got 2. Captain America: The First Avenger is the first one. The second one, and I had forgotten she was in this. It's The Duchess, the Keira Knightley, Ralph Fiennes film.
Oh yeah. I forgot she was in that too.
Yeah, she's in that. Then Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So good job pulling that one.
Accidental pick.
Last but not least, this is always the surprise: Ant-Man.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's in that even less than the other.
I would have gave it to Cinderella. She's wonderful.
Embarrassing as a Marvel fan.
A great movie.
What was she in Ant-Man? What did she do?
She's in the flashback at the beginning.
They
gave her a known for the flashback. That's again
Peggy Carter
same
stands
thing,
out.
Same
people
thing.
love their Peggy.
Winter Soldier.
And that's where I love that scene. Another very small universe building scene where you get to see. I think you see the headquarters that's in Winter Soldier, right? Because it was at that point. I
believe so.
And then you get her and Howard Stark played by what's his name from Mad Men, who's awesome.
Yep.
John Slattery.
John Slattery. Yeah. So a cool scene, like
it is a fun little scene. Yeah,
that are like, oh, cool, little universe build.
Just totally forgotten that was in Ant-Man. That's the problem.
Well, that's because
that's the whole de-aged Michael Douglas.
Yeah,
Michael Douglas. It hasn't aged as well, but I remember at the time the DH Michael Douglas, I was like, holy crap!
It worked really well.
It stands out. It looked good. Hits. Yeah.
She also
horrible in Endgame. The de-aging of Michael Douglas, and that was really bad. But anyway,
I'm trying to remember that. She was also in Christopher Robin. She played Evelyn Robin in that.
That's right.
Blinded by the Light. So she's definitely somebody who's keeping busy, but not as busy as some other people in the MCU. What do you two think about Agent Carter? Do you are you fans of the show? Are you fans of this character?
I am. Season 1 is wonderful. Season 2, when they go out to LA, it loses if the wheels fall off. But that first season of like the wake of the loss of Steve and this next level plot in New York and women in the workplace, I enjoy season 1. Season 2 gets really dumb in a hurry.
If I recall, the end of season 2 had some crazy energy beam work.
Definitely did. That's where it loses me.
Really level up the energy beam work.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the show. I only saw the one shot that they did.
Right. There is a one shot, which I figured that we've done one shots as hiatus episodes, and we kind of figured we'll save that for post Captain America. We'll talk about that one shot in a hiatus, but it certainly is worth talking about. It really was the setup for the entire show. So,
and here's a question, because I think the Hawkeye show officially made Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. non-canon, right? Because Hawkeye's wife ended up becoming a character from Agents of S.H.I.E.D.. However, Jarvis from the TV show is in Endgame. So does that make Agent Carter canon?
That's
I think so, because the same Jarvis is in Agent Carter.
Carter.
I think if there is a show that is, it's Agent Carter would be the one that does kind of fall into canon because of Peggy Carter, because we've already had Howard Stark in this film is Howard Stark.
Dominic Cooper's in there, right?
In Agent Carter.
Didn't Zola get a shot there too?
Zola was in it. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Toby Jones gets a spot there. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had Coulson and had had the monster from Thor. Sif was in it, but I think it's been non-canonized now, and that's a bummer. And then I guess it remains to be seen what they do with Daredevil, because I know that what do you call it? The Echo series that's coming out is going to have Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio.
They will clean that up for the kids. I know my bet is non-canon.
But what I'm saying is, like the only one I watched of the Netflix shows was Jessica Jones, and they do a lot of mentioning of the Avengers in that one, but I don't think that's canon anymore either. But I
don't think it's canon, but I mean they are. It's one of those things. It's like it's canon if you want it to be. I don't know. I guess that's kind of how I see so much of this stuff. I mean, they kind of all mention, like the TV shows mention the movies in reference and kind of passing, like, oh, that thing that happened in Hell's Kitchen, or whatever. They kind of dance around it. So I don't know. I guess it's if you want it to be part of it or not.
Now we're at multiverse where they can just say it happened someplace else.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Remember when there were stakes? Oh, sorry.
Oh, thank you. I agree.
I don't mean to open another can of worms, but
so many cans of worms open on this. Set of minutes.
High five, Pete.
I'm going to stay quiet. That's fine.
Well, we don't get a lot of Agent Carter here. Just really, it's just her introduction. She's talking to this line of recruits. This is going to be we're getting into a difficult stretch of the film where we have so many extras who are just, uncredited. I don't know who most of these people are. I always like calling out actors when I can, but I am not sure who this group is, unfortunately. It's just a lot of faces. Okay. And, but still, regardless, they are here. They're ready to train. They're ready to go fight Nazis, and Agent Carter is here to kind of supervise, as she says, all the operations for this division. And then, of course, somebody calls out her accent. A fantastic little bit here with the British accent versus kind of this American who I don't know if he's kind of a Brooklyn tough New Yorker sort of. What's with the accent, Queen Victoria? It's great.
He's the Boston guy that Chris Evans was supposed to be.
Maybe it's Chris Evans. Maybe it's a secret Chris Evans cameo with his actual accent.
Mission Impossible Faith comes off. Do great stuff.
And that character who makes fun of it is, I think that's the person that Tommy Lee Jones wants to be.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I think at one point he says, I don't remember his name, but he's like, he's strong, he's this, he's that, he passed all the tests, blah, 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 blah. And that
Barnes? Is it Barnes?
No, they wouldn't name. I don't think they named him Barnes. Or Bucky Barnes.
No, yeah.
There'd be something else.
I've got a friend named Barnes.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we'll be going through all sorts of troops in the coming minutes. But yeah, I don't know. It's a great little setup for this character. And, I just love the fact that we're finally with Steve in boot camp. He's finally in this place where he gets to actually be a soldier. And it's kind of, it's a great setup that we have here. I love where we are.
Still, from an efficiency standpoint, you're only at minute 20. I mean,
right.
The movie is moving pretty well, because you can say that the whole World's Fair Stark stuff is a bit of a dalliance where you could just take the kid from Brooklyn and you could have sped to this in 12 minutes, but they stretched it out to 20 and it works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing. We never get tired of it. We were talking about that when he was in the alley fight. Really, you learn everything you need to know about Steve Rogers when he's defending the theater scene and then fighting I could do this all day.
Well, help me out here. How long is this movie entirely in total?
125 minutes.
See, and then I can only imagine that Winter Soldier and Civil War are longer.
They just get longer and longer.
And see, that to me is, we asked this last minute and turned into the can of worms that we did, but that's why I like Joe Johnston. Joe Johnston, to me, shrewder and quicker with visual storytelling and quick storytelling versus the Russos, which have to blow everything up. So one more chance for me to root for Joe.
Yeah. Well, we'll take it. Joe's great. He does a great job here. This is Camp Lehigh, supposed to be in, I believe Camp Lehigh is supposed to be in New Jersey. Is that correct?
I believe so.
It's in New Jersey. Yep.
They filmed this in the UK.
Georgia.
Of course, this whole movie was shot over in the UK to get kind of that European feel, since so much of it takes place, as they're chasing the Nazis. There was one sequence of this actually filmed in California. I'm guessing it was going to be something that they had to do in retakes. But otherwise, yeah, this was all in. I guess it's Slough. Is that how you say it over in the UK? SLOUGH.
Slough.
Slough, like that Slough horses, right? Slow horses.
I think it's Slough.
Okay, like a plow.
I listened to a band called Slough Feg, and that's how they spell it. So Slough.
Kiss your mother with that mouth. No.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, there it is, folks. Yeah. Any last thoughts about the setup here? And for the two of you, I mean, you're not going to get to kind of talk about the rest of this, but why don't you just share?
Wait, we're not trapped here for another 7 hours. Yeah.
Pete, did you not tell them?
Oh gosh,
no! Crap.
I'm just trying to stretch this out because I'll never be invited back again ever.
Not kidding.
But last thoughts on this movie and kind of your thoughts on we're going into this this military setup here with Steve. There's going to be a grenade scene, and of course he'll become the hero that we all know him to be. Last thoughts from the two of you on Captain America and this film.
For me, I'm a fan of a square-jawed, true blue hero as a Midwestern guy, where I know he's the Brooklyn guy, but I said it in the last minute in the show. This is my number one favorite MCU film. A personal favorite where I know the flaws are there, I know the hackiness is there in a little bit, and I know the character's gone on to different, bigger and better things since. But this is just a super charming, amazing movie. Can't wait for when my kids can get to this one. I know we're still killing people in rollerblades later in the movie, but it's still a movie you can put in front of the 4 quadrant audience Will likes to talk about and find excessive charm. It's just so good.
I adore it. I love it more and more the more I watch it. And I was worried when we were approached to do this. I forgot that there really is no boring minutes in this. But sometimes when you do a minute by minute, you're going to think, what if I don't get this? But it was amazing. It just by chance, just minutes 16 through 20, there was one of my favorite, things. And just thinking ahead, like you're talking about now that we're in the military setting, I'm like, oh yeah, there's the grenade scene. There's the montage scene of him training. There's the flag scene. I think of all these amazing things. It's like when you watch the movie and you're just when you know what's going to happen, but you're looking forward to it. That's a sign of a good movie. Cause every time I watch this, I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to, when I was showing my dad, I was like, oh, I can't wait for him to see this scene and this scene and this scene and this scene. It's a good one. It's a good one. And I assume it'll continue to get better and better as time goes on.
switching gears to just Captain America in general, what are your favorite Captain America moments, or your specific? Do you have a favorite specific Captain America moment, whether it's in one of the films or comics or maybe Captain America 1979? What would that moment be?
All the movies? All the stuff?
Anything, yeah. Anything Captain America.
That's really hard, man. I mean, there's so many great moments in the MCU. However, if we're going to talk about a narrative point that encapsulates the character, and this is only something you could do later by building the character up, is in Infinity War when Thanos is like just going through Wakanda and he's just wiping everybody out. He's sticking like Mark Ruffalo in a rock, and he's capturing Scarlett Johansson in trees, and like, just killing everybody. And what did you call it? Thanos puts his hand down to crush him. He's holding the one gauntlet with both hands and screaming, and you get that moment from Thanos where he looks like, holy crap, like this guy actually like might get me for a second. And of course, because it's the narrative, like he has to be defeated. But that moment to me always gives me goosebumps, like, because it encapsulates everything we know about Cap. Like, he's not going to give up no matter the circumstance. He's got the little bit of that extra energy and strength than the average person, because he lasts a couple seconds longer against this impenetrable force. But yeah, every time I see that, I just get goosebumps. The hair on my neck raises, because I'm just like, oh man, what a moment. What a moment.
Mine would be old Cap on the bench talking to Sam, because the same thing, like hairs in the back. Like, how rare is it to me, especially with these movies where any comic series that's of films, like, it's so rare to get to see a hero get to ride off in the sunset or to have their sunset. And we get this Cap who shows up just to make ends meet in terms of timelines and things, and to pass that shield to Sam, but also to see the man who had seen it all, lived that whole life, and got the sunset we see other characters maybe hint at, maybe get. Like Tony dies 20 minutes before this. We have all these characters that we know are going to go on in other timelines and places and be recast 15 years from now, and where the story always goes on. But like, how rare do we ever get to see the last phase of one of these heroes as a man? And to see that, and like, you hear the little production parts where like his parents saw that scene and they're like, you look just like your grandpa in that scene. Like, just the personal feels that have to go into that. Where do you take that character to that place? And to do it. And same thing, economy of words, to say it as simply as, no, I don't think it will. And all the little moments that make Chris nail that scene. And yeah, I admire that, because legacy, we talk about legacy with these characters so much, but that legacy is always formed in such a present fashion. But what would that legacy look like all the way to the end? Right. And I can't name another moment of that. Like, we'll never get Christopher Reeve playing an older Superman. We might get Michael Keaton, if Warner Brothers doesn't screw up Flashpoint, play an end of life Batman. And like, we don't like, in the what if sense that Will's talked about in other shows and episodes here, like, what would it look like to see it all the way played out? Normally we never get it, or the comics keep them young. They never age, but here we get one where he does. And it's just a powerful moment for me.
Well, because you mentioned Sam, who's my, because I'm an Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Falcon guy. Mm-hmm. Those are my three favorite characters. I have to say, even though it's not Cap is not speaking dialogue or doing anything, on your left has to be really close up there too, because I remember being in the theater and just my mind just melting with like Cap on your left, and I was just like, like, it was just like, I couldn't believe. I mean, the theater went ballistic. It was crazy.
Good stuff.
So that's a second place for me.
I love it. Oof. Well, gents, it has been a week of amazing and wild conversations. We've gone from one spectrum to the other. Yeah, we've covered the gamut for sure. It's been a thrill. Thank you so much for joining us on the show all week. Remind everybody one last time where they can find you, learn more about your show, and what you two do.
No.
Get him, Pete. Get him, Pete.
You must tell us where you can be found.
Oh, God. Am I really doing this?
You're really doing this.
It's, you know what? It's when you bring that sense of regret to your plugs. That's what really makes them shine.
No,
that brings the people to the show, man.
To paraphrase Hulk, I always have regret. All right, fine. Cinephile Hissy Fit is a 25YL Ruminations Radio Network podcast that you can find on Spotify and Apple and Stitcher and Podbean and your mother's attic. I don't know, whatever. And we're also on the socials. We're on Elon Musk's Twitter. We're on Data from Star Trek The Next Generation's Facebook /Meta. We are on China's Instagram. I don't know.
Yeah, we're huge in China. Yeah,
we're not on TikTok, thank Christ, and
yet.
And we're not on Snapchat
yet.
No, never.
I don't want that one either. Yeah, OnlyFans though, potential.
OnlyFans. We're on.
Cinephile Hissy Feet.
Contact me directly for the info on that one.
His DMs are so slippery. Slide right in.
Gross.
Just need those Lululemon leggings.
That's it, guys.
Wow.
Well done. Well done.
Tip of the hat. Woo. All right. Well, all of that will be in the show notes. As always, everybody, all of that will be in the show notes. As always, you can learn more about our show at truestory.fm/Marvel Movie Minute. You can find our socials, our Discord, information about the membership, about our merch, all of that good stuff. So it's been a wonderful week. Pete, as always, thank you so much.
Don't look up, Ant-Man.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Spread the News by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, consider doing that for this show.